Mapping Inspirational Podcast is something I started last year in 2023, and I have interviewed the geographers from the very beginning. And today I'm here again with a geographer. Hi, Livia. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. First, thank you for inviting me to this podcast. I think you have awesome projects since the day I met you for the first time. You always have great ideas. And sometimes I feel, how does she handle all this? Because she's just so creative, and I have a great admiration for you. So I'm Livia. I'm a geography teacher for elementary school here in Brazil. I'm also a PhD student, and I study geography education, more specifically argumentation processes for learning geographical concepts and reasoning. I feel like this is not representative of who I am, but professionally, that's who I am. I'm 37 years old. I'm a Brazilian, so I like parties, I like carnival, I like beach. So there's a lot that I could say about me, but I think that in summary, that's me.
Can I just say something what I remember from you from our first meeting? I remember at that time it was also a podcast. I think we called it Girl Podcast at that time, Geography Education Researchers' Thoughts. So it was a podcast series related to International Geographical Union Commission on Geographical Education. We interviewed your supervisor, Sonia. Yeah. And Sonia is quite concerned about she not being able to say all things fluently in English. That's why she invited you over there to be the translator. And I was like, oh my God, someone could do this. It's really good, unbelievable. Because I was like, wow, she just gave you such a short notice. Are you okay to do this? Because some people were like, no. But you just took it on, and your personality at that time, I like, oh, I want to be this girl's friend. And then, nice. Of course, we get along, and I asked you to do another podcast with me during COVID time, talk about Brazilian geography education, and we also met up in IGU. I think, wow, she's really fun. She's not just professionally really good, but also really kind person.
Yeah, that's so nice, Shin. And that's the impression that I have from people like you, who, like, for me, like, speaking Chinese just something already wow. And then she speaks English so fluently, and that's so good for communication, for meeting people from so many different places and getting their experiences. So I think it's something that has opened doors for me, and meeting you also something that was really awesome.
I think we open doors for each other. We keep this door open. I remember, like, when I was in the middle of my data analysis, you invited me to geography education seminar in your university, University of São Paulo, and invited Sonia to chair this meeting, and also you translated for me, and your translation was so good that the editor in the audience said, like, they want to commission an article from us. Then I got my first Portuguese article published. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
So I think, of course, your project is brilliant. It's methodologically, and all the parts, they are all linked, well linked together. So I feel like people felt this, and since we have this interaction, I think it was easier for me to translate, because we've been talking, discussing project in many moments.
Yeah. The time when I first moved in Scotland, I was so lonely, and always I like, Livia, can I have a chat? And we keep talking about a lot of things, and that keeps me going when there was very dark, long nights. That's how I go through. I really always thinking about this. I always feel quite touched by the generosity that you put into listening to me. Yeah.
And this connection was important. During COVID, I think people felt lonely also for many other reasons, and having this, we had like we scheduled some dates to meet monthly, and it was really important talking to you, for me as well.
Yeah, and today I'm going to ask you a question first in Mapping Inspirational Women podcast. Where are your favorite places in the world?
My favorite places in the world. First, I'll start from my home. Home for me is one of my favorite places. This is where I get things together. I feel nourished here somehow. I still live with my parents. I'm 37, but I still live with my parents. But I feel here like I can charge my batteries. You know, I feel renewed by being at home. So my hometown, Cubatão, is somewhere. It feels like home for me. I admire you, and I admire a lot of people who have lived abroad. And of course, I would like to have this experience sometime in my life. But I still feel like I would come back to my hometown, Cubatão. I have lived in São Paulo, which is the biggest city in Latin America.
In Latin America, wow.
In Latin America, during my graduation, I lived there for 4 years, but I was always coming back home. So home for me, Cubatão, for me is coming back home. And there are special places in the city, like when I feel a little bit sad, or I get my bike and there's a river near here where I go, and then I sit there by myself and planning my life and thinking and trying to rebuild things. And like when I have a problem, this is a special place. There are special places in my city that they are my favorite places in the world. I've been, I haven't traveled a lot, but I've been to places, wonderful places. We've been to Paris. I've met you in London. I've been to many beautiful beaches. In Brazil, we have great places to be, but I still would say Cubatão. And people may be shocked, but I'm being honest.
I think it's all about like where you feel your heart is, where you feel most relaxed, or you feel like you could be yourself. And I'm glad you have home. And I don't think it's a problem to live with parents as long as you're happy there. Like, why people have to assume that when you become adults, you need to live alone or start a new family. It's about where you feel most comfortable. Yeah.
Yes, and society like imposes some things for us, how we have to be. We are 30, so you have to have a great career, you have to have a family, you have to have a house, you have to have so many things. I feel the pressure. I'm not going to say that I don't. I do feel this pressure, but I feel like, well, that's it. At the end, the important thing is how I feel wherever I am, and that's what counts for me.
You did say it's one of your favorite places. So what are the others?
So since I was a kid, my father, he had a beach house in Barra do Una, which is it's in the coast here of São Paulo, the state of São Paulo here in Brazil. And it's a beach, but it also has a river, so the river joins the sea.
And so it's a river beach and a sea beach together.
Yes, together. So I was raised there. So since I was like 1 year old, I have so many memories from there. It's a beautiful place. It's like, since my father, unfortunately, during COVID in 2020, he sold the house. He had to sell it for financial problems, things like that. And wow, I think when we lose something, that's when we give value to it. So I was like, wow, so many stories. I learned how to swim there. I'm not afraid. Like, people are afraid of all kinds of bugs and cockroaches and everything. I feel like I've built some brave side of myself, because I until this day, I'm not afraid of bugs and any kind of animals, because it's in the middle of, it's not a forest, but it's full of trees, and it's very wild in some sense.
Natural, Yes,
this house was in the middle of this. It's kind of it's not a mountain, but it's kind of a mountain. It's in a cliff, and there were these trees, and nature was very present there. So I grew up there, and it gave me some senses of adventure, of swimming by myself, freedom of going places, because it's not during this time, I don't know today how things are, but about security, I could go by anywhere by myself and it's okay. So that's another favorite place. So places and things for me. I need to build a history with these places, people. I need to have a history. I don't know, and that's why it has this mark inside me.
That's really good. I think it's the place and the meaning you attach to it. It's not just a geographical location. It's all the meaning, all the good memories you have in these places.
Perfect.
Really lovely, beautiful answer. And now we are moving to the time traveler questions. So the first question is about the past. If you were traveling back to the past, who are the women that you want to meet that inspired you for entering this career in teaching, in research, and you would like to name them and thank them here?
Yeah, they don't need to be dead, right? They can be alive.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I was thinking about this question. Yes, when I started reading my thesis and that part of the memorial, the things that we tell, how we got there to the PhD and all,
acknowledgement, right?
Acknowledgements also, yeah. I was thinking like, geography was something that came into my life. It was not something that I was sure of doing. Wow, I really need to study geography. But something that has always been inside me was like, I want being a teacher. Since I was a kid, we were playing and role playing, and then somehow I had this board at my house, and I was gathering my friends, and we were playing, and I was the teacher, and somehow I was the student. Sometimes when another friend became the teacher, so we had this role play for my whole life. I always had a lot of admiration for a lot of teachers that I had during my journey. So if I could name a few, I had one teacher, Rejane, who really inspired me. When I was like 14 to 15, I was invited to teach English because I started studying English very early, and one school here invited me to teach, but it's just this. It's just a language course. It's not for elementary school, or it's not this kind of school. So I had teachers from there, like Degenau, and they were inspirational for me. So they inspired me to become to like doing what you're doing first. That's something that I have learned from them, and doing it very professionally and knowing what they are doing. So this is something that really it catches me somehow. So these are people that I have to thank, and I had the opportunity to thank one of them. Rejane, I have met like last year, and I was like, wow, I had English classes with you. I was like 11, 12 years old, and was like, wow, you were my muse somehow. And now I'm teaching, and everybody, and because it was more linked to English than to geography, they always thought like, oh, so you teach English, you teach no, I teach geography, but I became a teacher because I feel like it's kind of I know it's not cool to say that we have a mission as teachers, but I don't know, somehow I feel like something in my life always brought me to this place, education, teaching, learning.
So she was your teacher, English teacher?
Yes.
Or yeah.
English teacher. It was an English teacher, Rejane. Very professional and very organized. I love people who are very organized in what they're doing. And when you feel like, wow, this person, she knows a lot because she loves what she's doing. She studies something that she really gets what's going on there. So she was very inspirational for me.
That's good.
And of course, when I got to the academy, my supervisor was one of the persons that I had a lot of admiration.
Wait, academia, you mean when you get to academia?
I mean, like when I entered the master's degree, when I got to university, but as post-graduation, not undergraduate. So I feel like Sonia was an inspiration for me at first, and then I met all other great women here in geography education in Brazil, like Lana Cavalcanti, Helena Callai, and
so one Inspirational Women led you to many. And could you tell me a little bit about, and the audience, a little bit more about Sonia?
Sonia, she's a geographer. She graduated like in the end of the 70s, and then she got her master's, her PhD, and she's also she writes books, school books, for elementary school, for high school, and she's also a teacher for initial training.
Initial teacher education.
Initial teacher education. She's a teacher at University of São Paulo. And she's also a mom, and she's a leader. She's a natural leader. That's why I feel like she's an inspiration. She has been an inspiration for me ever since, because of her. She knows what she wants to do. That's exactly what I feel like. I have this admiration. She knows what she's doing. She has purpose in what she's doing, and she makes it happen. She's this kind of woman.
Yeah, she's the editor of the book that you contributed one of the chapter, right? That's the
Exactly.
first English book, English kind of like books on journal, on academic articles about geography education in South America.
Exactly. I think it's one of the first books published by Springer in geography education, and in this academic world, especially in this area here in Brazil, women are the leaders here. So Sonia is one of them, Helena, Lana, as I have mentioned, and that's why I feel like they have this power, and they have gained this power through a lot of work, a lot of good decisions, and getting together with the right people, getting connections, making it happen. They have this network here in Latin America who they have created. So this kind of thing makes me wow, I want to be this person too. So
that's really good. And they are living around you, so it's not like someone you have to always look up to. They're actually your mentor, your supervisor in this. That's really great. Yeah.
And there's a book here, like from Lana Cavalcanti. Wow, I was reading one of these days. I was reading this book, and this person was so distant from me. Like, wow, she's in a pedestal. I don't know. And then now, wow, I'm chatting with her. Wow, this I have her WhatsApp number. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's really good.
Amazing.
Yeah. I'm glad that this is what you have in your life. And now we are going to living the past a little bit and moving to the present. Will you now tell you a bit about yourself and what you are doing and what keeps you going in what you are doing now? You are doing?
What am I doing? I'm now finishing my PhD, my research here. So when I started researching, even in my master's degree, I have graduated, and then there was this gap between my bachelor degree and then my master. I was like 5 years out of the university, and when I came back, it was exactly because when I entered the classroom as a teacher, I was like, what the hell am I doing here? What is the purpose? Are all of these children understanding what I'm saying? Are they learning? Am I teaching well? So all these questions, how do they learn? What are the things that I'm doing correctly and this have a positive result? And what are the things that, no, this is not okay? So that's why I came back to the university as a researcher. So both things, research, which is something that I'm doing in my PhD, and teaching, which is my profession, they are linked because it motivates me to see, like, I don't want to be a teacher who goes there and like, open your book, copy page 1 to until page 6, and read this and put it in your notebook. So I don't want to be this kind of teacher. I'm very interested in knowing if they are learning, how can I help them to learn, organize themselves. I don't know, somehow I feel like when we leave school, maybe they won't remember all the things from geography, all details from like a river basin or whatever, but they'll learn how to study, they'll learn how to reason properly. I don't know, maybe that's the thing that remains. So I feel like that motivation is present because I'm dealing with people. and I love dealing with people and children. It's a challenge. It has always been a challenge. It's still a challenge for me. I'm in the classroom for 8 years almost now. Of course, in the beginning, it was even harder. Now we feel more confident about what we're doing, planning, executing, but it's still a challenge because every year it's a different classroom, different children that you have to be communicating. So I feel like it's everything, and everything is linked, because as a teacher, I'm also a student, because I'm studying to know if what I'm doing is right. So it's all interconnected somehow.
That's great. Yeah. And I remember when I first listening to you in presenting, you were talking something about argumentation. That's also right. That's what you have been studying. Is it also similar to what you are studying in PhD? Because I remember that was a master's project.
Yes, this is my master's project. So we've been developing classes, a sequence of classes that somehow favors students to argument during their classes. So we don't want mnemonic geography. We don't want children to know what is the capital of something, what is the religion of that country, what's the population number of Brazil. This is something that will be okay to know as a fact content, as a fact knowledge, but I want children to, as I said, I don't want children, maybe they won't remember everything from geography content, but from its reasoning. And argumentation favors both things. So they will learn the content. We have a lot of research that has provided this kind of data to us and this kind of results from problem solving linked to argumentation, and how this favors their learning, the contents, the concepts, the reasoning of in a specific area. And also because argumentation is something that deals with, for example, when we are evaluating fake news. Wow, why is this data, why is this sentence, this assertion someone made, why is it true? What are the evidences? What links this evidence to this conclusion? So somehow I feel like this kind of learning methodology helps children think about and reflect on what is being spread, news that are being spread, and things from social media and all and everything else that they deal with their daily lives. So
is that where you kind of like have this idea of the project we've been talking about, like from to the children around the world?
Exactly. So this year, like I feel like geography education researchers, when we reflect on what we're doing, we have a lot of challenges. It's not only dealing with geography, it's not only dealing with education, pedagogy, curriculum. We're dealing with, when we think specifically about geography, I feel like what will remain in their education after they leave my classes, what will remain with them? Maybe we're teaching geography and we are in the classroom, we don't go out, we don't see space as it is, we don't look around, we don't perceive our landscapes that we are coming and going every day robotically, automatically. And this is something that I wanted them to see somehow. So in 6th grade here, year 6 of elementary school, the first lesson that they have to learn is about, in the curriculum, is about landscape. So different landscapes in the world. So recognizing our landscape and other places. So I felt like, okay, let's recognize our landscape first. So let's go around and take a look and walk around here, our neighborhood, and see how people work, how people live, what's the main way people walk through town. Is it by bike? Is it on foot? Is it by Uber? I don't know. So let's take a good look at this, because sometimes it's so we're not seeing what we are watching every day. It's there every day and we're not perceiving it. So this was something that was firstly done. And then there's this video that I love and I have been using in my classes for some years now. which is the community, an Indian community, indigenous community called Iquipeng here in Brazil. They live in Mato Grosso. And they have, like in the beginning of the 2000s,
you said 1999, yeah.
Yeah, 1999, I think. Yeah, the video is from 1999. And they have recorded the way they have occupied, they have appropriated their own space. So their houses are different. They walk around with some kind of freedom that children right now they don't have. Living in the city has some kind of insecurity in going place to place, especially in the age. Children in 6th grade are like 11, 12 years old. So they don't have this freedom of going around town and getting a boat and going in the middle there and fishing like this community, the Iquipeng, have. The way they have occupied their space is very different from people here from my town do, and from a lot of cities, urban places, right? So I was wondering, wow, this is different, and it's in Brazil. So we are very curious when we're like 11 years old, what's going on like in China? Maybe a family there, they live the same way that I live here. If I was raised in China, would I have the same culture, my house would be the same, like in Japan, in Africa, in some country in Africa? I feel like I wanted to make this interconnection to them, and they could compare these landscapes that surround them from what they have. So when they are watching this video from the Iquipeng, they are like, oh, wow, they're not wearing clothes. And it's very common to them. So girls are swimming without their shirts on or any bikini. And so this is something like, it's different, but that's how they have got this territory was occupied by them in this way, and it's okay for them. And actually they maybe have a better relation with the surroundings than we do, because we don't see garbage in their territory, in their village. We don't see any kind of waste. So it's different, but maybe nature is more thankful to how the way they have occupied their territory than what we are doing here in the urban spaces. So I feel like we should connect and try to compare these and see other ways and see the other. I feel geography brings this opportunity of looking at the other, of what the other is doing, comparing what us and the other. Somehow that's why I wanted to make this project, to try to join geography teachers and see, let's share how your children are living and how we're living here, and compare landscapes, ways of living, and things like that.
And I also really like the idea, because what you've been talking about reminds me of the Gapminder that I sent you before about the $1 street. It talk about like if we put every country in one street, how it be like with $1, what could we buy, what it's like. But this one actually involved children's voices, because I could see from the Iquipeng videos, and then children are in this. Children are taking claims of like, this is my space, right? And what you expect to see your project is the same. It's kind of like showing children and their surroundings with them rather than for children. But also, you know that children may not be as fluent as you in English, so they could speak their native language, their first language, whatever they feel more comfortable with. And you as a teacher, because you have this professional knowledge in geography and English, that you could happily translate into English, so that it could be much easier for people from other countries to understand.
Accessible.
Because although I don't think it's fair that English always get this, but it seems to be that's the language that we both know and we can communicate.
Exactly.
If we just insist like it had to be in our language only, no translating, how would we have knowledge circulate and travels around the world? And also more and more I see that when I use English to tell Chinese stories, when you use English to tell Brazilian stories, you're enriching the language yourself. You are bringing new things into this rather than the kind of like the old standard English. So it's very important that you have this interest and have this initiative to bring this along with the students, with their agency, and with your agency to connect with each other. And I really hope this would gain more support from geographical associations and geographical societies around the world. And I I see the potential of this being developed into a research project. And I also see there may be in different parts of the world, people would have a little bit of concerns, such as in EU areas, they could be quite concerned of children showing their face, and if we put it online, will people be able to track them about their privacy? So I was even thinking, like, if we get this as a project, we could even ask animators to draw things. It doesn't have to be kind of like showing their real places. It could create personnels and create kind of drawings of this place. You don't have to necessarily say like which location it is, but tell them what it is like. And even when you talk about China, when you first asked me, I was thinking like, actually, I wouldn't say there's one unified way to live in China, because there are all different regional cultures, I would say. The way I was growing up in a place called we call it land of fish and rice, 鱼米之乡. So that's what I have. I have rice, fish, prawns, all the freshwater seafood. And then if someone grew up in Xinjiang, they probably have lamb, beef, and noodles more than rice and fish. So it's all around with your surroundings, and that will shape your diet and your food preference. And the way also the way you dress, because the climate could be slightly different or dramatically different. So these are all the things that's why when like it would be great if we could have this going on, and I could when I go back to China, I could try to approach more teachers and see if they would be interested, and if we could co-develop some example videos. That could be a way to be like, oh, that's what you expect. Yeah,
exactly. So I want to start this from my classes, starting to record this video. So students, this agency, as you said, their protagonism of going there and making videos
in this. Yes.
Yes, and they are going to be like in separate groups. Like, you are responsible for like clothing and food, and this group is responsible for how we live, and the other how we go around city, means of transportation, things like that, so that they can show how it is. And then we gather this in one movie, a short movie. It wouldn't be something long, and I want something that really feels like they have made it. It was not the teacher who was recording. I feel like if
they should hold the camera. Now it's a TikTok generation, and they are really good with like less than 2 minutes short videos, what it's like, how to feature it. They're probably better than us in editing videos.
That's it. They are much better than us. They are much better than us. I had this opportunity of going around our neighborhood here in our school. So we were meeting people around town, and we were asking, what do they work on? Why are they here in this place? Is it for fun? Is it because they are working? So they wanted, I didn't ask them to do this, but they asked me, teacher,
that's great.
Teacher, can I go there and interview this person and ask her what she wants? And then they go, can I record you? I want to make this interview with you. We are in the geography class.
So they even know how to ask a consent. They don't like, I'm going to record this secretly. I'm going to ask.
They agree.
I'll do this. Wow, that's amazing.
So I feel like if we have to deposit some confidence in them, some like, go, you can do it. You're able to do this. And I feel like they get more involved in these kinds of projects because of this. We're giving them responsibility. It's not only on us. The teacher has to do it. And then I feel like my role here in all this project would be like translation and getting them in contact with all these children around. But I want them to record it. And then when we get videos from other places, they will compare their places. Wow, that's how they live, and that's what they eat.
From children's perspectives, I think so. There's I have one friend, an artist friend, and she sometimes posts photos taken by her son instead of by her husband. You could see the different perspectives. Children see things differently. And that's really interesting to see it. And especially now, these days, they grow up with this digital device, with videos, with all this. It's important for them to have the voice. And it's also equally important for teachers to create these bridges for them, because they have a lot of things going on, and they probably would like to be supported by teachers. Like, oh, well, but I can't just, if I'm just 10 years old, I'm fluent in Portuguese probably, but I'm not that fluent in English. If you ask me suddenly, like, you have to do it in English, I probably won't be myself. But if I can confidently talk in Portuguese, and teacher said, I'll translate it into English, and the other teacher, like in China, say, like, I'll help you translate in English, just say it in Chinese, and then compare it, help them to build these conversations. I think it would be much better than AI ones, because AI sometimes misunderstands the content. But geography teachers, we could see this. We could see children's geographies in this. We could also provide our own geographical expertise in this. That's amazing. And this could be one of the collaborative research projects that I would say in the future sees what geographies means. It's no longer some big old professor decide this is what geography means. It's like, what do the children see? What do they think as geography? And that's amazing. I'm really, really looking forward to this.
Well, from the ethical perspective, I forgot to mention that here in Brazil, I don't know, when children get enrolled in classes, their parents, they have to sign this kind of authorization of image recording and photographs that are taken during school year. So I feel like this kind of barrier we're not going to have here, but of course, if it becomes, and mainly it was structured and thought first as a school project, so it wouldn't involve, I know that are the privacy questions and issues, but I feel like if we have their parents, people who are responsible for authorization, allowance, so I think we're good by doing this.
That's another thing I think why teachers should be involved in this as well, because students won't have all the knowledge about ethics and all of this. That's why teacher helps them to see, like, oh, this might cause some like privacy leak. Do we want to kind of blur this information a little bit? So that's why I think it's important to do this with teachers. It also creates an alternative ways for teachers and students to interact with each other. This time, teachers as facilitators, as experienced companion in this, but as students' initiative, as students' perspectives. It's just you have to enhance it and you have it to communicate across cultures. Yeah,
we're mainly like editors of what they are doing. Maybe guiding.
They are the directors too.
Also, but we're just guiding. Like
they are the directors. We are just helping producing it. We're the producers.
We're producers. Perfect. We're producers. And that, I feel like, can you imagine if you have this kind of experience during your school years? I think that's something that you're going to remember, like in 10 years, in 20 years from now. You're like, wow, remember when we joined this project and we met someone from China and we made a video? And I feel like this is what schools, we're not going to remember everything from mathematics, from arts, from history. You're not going to remember every detail of everything. But there are moments that are going to be like, wow, I had this interconnection. I think we're in a globalized world, so why not? We discuss globalization. We don't talk to someone who is like miles from us. And I don't know. I feel like, as you said, it has a potential. Let's see what's going to happen. But I feel like
I just feel see like this. I'll let you finish and I'll say what I want to say.
No, I feel like this is something, as I said, it has a potential. Let's see what's going to happen later, but it's going to be special for us and special for the children.
Yes. It's just what you were talking about there at 11 to 12. It just reminds me of the first Inspirational Women you mentioned. You also met her at the age that you said around this time. It's kind of like the time opens your mind. Oh, actually, teaching could be like that. It's amazing to see this kind of like in the long run, it's came back to you and you became the teacher who started to do this, to open up the world to them. And that's amazing.
And I would like also to mention that all my students are from public schools in Brazil, and I have students who are living in slums.
It's public. So you need to explain, because some of the audience in English may understand public schools as these public schools. I mean the public funded school, like state schools, right?
State schools in Brazil. So when we say state schools and public schools, we mean here in Brazil that this kind of schools here, they are not for people in middle class or high classes economically. They are from low income families, live in slums mainly. most of them live in slums. So even the neighborhood where the school is very different. The houses around them is very, the streets, the size of the streets, having sidewalks on the streets, it's very different from where they live, from where their houses are. So if this kind of landscape in their city is already different, and giving this opportunity for them to see there's a world out there, there's much more than just like, it's not only Cubatão, it's not only your neighborhood, it's not only your slum, but it's so much more that we have around the world. So many people that you can meet maybe in your lifetime. I feel like it's an opportunity that maybe children from private school may have because their parents can afford a trip somewhere out there. And I feel like it's nice. It's important to mention here that we're giving, it's of course I can't afford, the state can afford the kind of trip.
I don't think it's possible, but because of the internet, because of our connections, at least they could know there are other people, there are different ways of living. I wouldn't say that every child in China goes to private schools. Most of them also go to, many of them go to public funded schools, like state funded schools, and they don't necessarily live this kind of so-called middle class life. They could live in a tiny house, especially in Shanghai. The flat could not be spacious, or they could live in the urban rural area, this suburban area, and commute to do this. I just want to show the diversity of this. I hate that in media and of this, like they put the extremes of it. I want to kind of, if it's possible in this project, to see actually what the real lives are, how diverse it is, and how we see this kind of like diversity in life. And I want their voice to be heard as well. Yeah.
Perfect. I feel like you have summarized everything. Diversity, having their voices heard. That's what the project is all about, mainly. So
yes.
Still a school project, but maybe, who knows, something bigger.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, we could definitely look into research fundings and for this. And now we are going to get to the end of the podcast. So I've sent you an outline before. There are a series of questions that previous interviewees want to ask future interviewees, which today is you. So the questions, are there any of them that you want to answer?
Well, I feel like you can choose one. I feel like you're.
Are you sure? Yeah. So I quite like the most recent one. It's like, in your first language, there's an idiom that you would like to share. Could you say them in your language and explain what it means if it's not in English?
Expression, or maybe this
expression, like these kind of things people pass on as a wisdom in Portuguese, but they're not necessarily known in English. But you find this word quite inspiring or quite encouraging?
I would say, andar com fé, eu vou, que a fé não costuma falhar. It means like walk firmly with faith, because faith normally does not leave you without an answer, something like that. So keep going, like keep going. That's what this idiom means. So I feel there's also a song with this line and this idiom, and I feel that's it. We have to let's keep going. Things are not okay. Of course,
keep going.
I'm here. We're like, if you see like how much my salary or the school conditions and my children's condition, because many of them are not even literate in Portuguese. They don't know how to write yet, and I know they are 11, 12 years old, but after COVID, this was even worse for us. But like, let's keep going. Let's have new ideas. If we stay there thinking and feeling like, oh, I can't do anything. Oh no, that's it. It's the end of the world. It's like, we're not going to do anything. So let's keep going. Let's have faith. And I feel like good ideas, they are going to get executed, and everything's going to be all right in the end.
That's good. Keep it going. And if you have do you have a question for future interviewees as well?
a good question for future interviewees from everywhere, right, in the world.
Yeah. I don't know who my future interviewees will be. Yeah. I'll turn on the light. As you can see, it's getting dark. I'll get you time to think about
it. Okay, let's. I was wondering which books, because people inspire us, but sometimes there are books that inspire us in our lives that maybe I would like to know some author or a book that's not academic or something from, no, none of this, but I feel
interesting. It's the first question I got people ask. Did you see in the outline, in the first or second page, they actually ask, when we talk about inspirational women, which writer and the book, if you have, first comes to your mind? How have their writing influenced you? Yeah, it's great. It came up with the same question. Yeah. But I'll ask next time when I ask the interviewees if they don't have a preference. I want to ask this question.
Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate that. And for the audience, Mapping Inspirational Women podcast is open for everyone. And if you want to be one of the guests in the future, just get in contact. And if you want to get involved with Livia's project, we'll provide Livia's email in these details of this video. Feel free to email Livia and introduce yourself and talk about what you could collaborate on this project.
Perfect.
Bye for now.
Thank you all.